Dubey sir, you can
Dubey sir.
start right now, sir.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back again on this Sunday. And today we have Dr. Rajaram Kudli with us. He is going to talk to us about the importance of the light within. Dr. Kudli has spoken before this group even earlier. So I'll give a very brief introduction since many of us know him. Dr. Kudli is a technology educator. He has done his MTech and PhD from Indian Institute of Technology. A former parent of the Valley School, Bangalore, Dr. Kudli is a volunteer at the study center in the Valley School, Bangalore. With these words, I'll request Dr. Kudli to please begin his talk. Dr. Kudli can perhaps talk for an hour, and after that, it will be followed by the question and answer. Dr. Kudli, welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Namaste. Namaste, everybody. So this, I am normally wary of giving a talk, which we have mentioned earlier also. So it has to be anchored in wisdom, as well as our own, the speaker's own personal experiences also, or explorations. So it's always a tricky thing to give a talk, which sounds like an authority is dispensing some invaluable wisdom, which is not necessarily so. So this topic is personally intriguing to me. This whole talk of light within, which we have heard from almost every seed we know, and of course Krishnamurti has talked extensively about it. So a lot of this comes from my personal exploration, and also with friends around the study center and outside the study center, what we keep discussing. So normally our thoughts and explorations are anchored on particularly some or the other seer who is closer to us, or in general quotations of insights or talks by different seers, or let's say the liberated people or leaders in different domains, whom we consider as some kind of an authority, even though we don't use the word authority in most of the context. I would begin with a quote of Krishnamurti, on which actually this talk itself, or my thought process, is anchored. That this is a very one of the very popular quotes, rather, that one has to be a light unto oneself in a world becoming utterly dark. I am sure most of us in this group has heard of this. Then one can go into the exploration of what exactly does it mean, what is light within oneself, what is the meaning of being a light unto oneself, and more importantly, where is the darkness? Is the world really becoming utterly dark? So everybody seems to be very energized and gung-ho about the globalized economy, how the economy is improving, and digitalizing has brought everything to our hand. So from your mobile, you can operate everything you need for your life, and so on and so forth, including education, e-learning, then anything you want to buy through e-commerce, and so on and so forth. Therefore, where is this, darkness coming from? And Krishnamurti says this, that it is becoming utterly dark. What exactly is the nature of this darkness? This is my concern. Then similarly, there is another quote of Krishnamurti, on which a lot of our explorations or personal interests also anchored, is that it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Probably he meant in a very, very large sense, in a very, very expansive sense of the sickness of the society. But through the last couple of years of pandemic, we are seeing it literally being executed, as if the whole world, the whole society, everybody is sick, or has a propensity to become sick, which is terminal, and then you have to be adjusted to that, follow the protocols, and so on and so forth. And another one, I'll come to the intriguing part of all these quotes. One of his what is considered as dying declaration of Krishnamurti, which is recorded And very few people who are close were actually witness to that. And only through those who are witness to that, who had recorded that, these words have gone around, and we have heard of this, that no one understood. No one understood it. Till recently, even I had the impression, and I had got the same impression with a lot of people who are associated or exploring the teachings closely, that what he meant was actually nobody who was with the foundation or worked with him or he worked with them for all his life, through his life, understood the teachings. That was the impression that was going around. But only recently, and of course, while going through newly published accounts, biographical accounts, when you read a complete statement printed, that's not what he meant. What he has actually said is something else. That body went through enormous experiences, the energy and so on, and nobody has understood. That is what he has said. Not that nobody has understood the teachings. And then, of course, he has said if they live the teachings, they might understand it, kind of statement. So this is an example of how a few words or a sentence quoted out of context, given an interpretation, and goes around for decades and spreads. And finally, it gives an impression which is not the impression, or which is not what was communicated originally. Now, going back to that, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society is such a profound statement. And we are very intrigued by that. Are we actually in a sick society? Am I being forced to get adjusted to that? And is it healthy, and so on and so forth? Then when I was talking to some people from UK and US who were part of, preserving Krishnamurti's teachings, they said they are also intrigued by that, and they went around and searched. This is what is in public domain. Krishnaji has actually not said this in exactly these words. But when you read this, it gives an impression, all of us who have been exploring or listening to Krishnamurti, that he might have said something like this, because this is like summary of a lot of things he has communicated. One canonized or one summarized sentence, he might have summarized it this way, or it doesn't matter. It sounds like it sounds true that he might have said it. But people who are associated with preserving, I don't know the right name for that, they have actually tried to find out, and they found that he has not exactly said this. But nevertheless, you cannot say that what is said is wrong, totally wrong. He might have communicated something which is giving this impression. Similarly, one has to be a light unto oneself in a world becoming utterly dark. I tried to find out. So because of these possible distortions, and also in communication, and also I being associated with translation of Krishnaji's works, and also this quarterly magazine, quarterly newsletter in Kannada, we keep looking for quotes. So in every page, there is a space for quotes. We keep on looking for new quotes, and we translate, quickly the quotes we find on the internet. And because of these possible distortions, we have made it a practice to go to the source, which is all the teachings available, the video, audio, and text available, in the jkrishnamurti.org, and try to find, is there any source in which he has said exactly this? If not, we would be cautious about, translating and publishing it as it is. So I found that even this profound statement, that one has to be a light unto oneself in a world becoming utterly dark, I could not find exactly the same string in any of his, the published talks, which is searchable. Maybe it is there in some video, which is not searchable yet, and so on. But it would be, for me, I'll have to explore. Unless I explore what exactly is the meaning of that, in all the context in which Krishnaji has used this word, the light within oneself, I cannot be sure of what exactly it means, or I cannot take it literally. This is coming from my experience. Similarly, these seem to be possible distortions and impressions totally unintended by the people who communicated that, who were witness to that, or who had heard that. Whereas there are other couple of examples coming from my personal experiences, that there was a quote, somebody, a good friend of us who is part of our study groups, put with Krishnaji's photo and his signature, that, and the summary of that is, struggle is necessary for evolution. People just read it. Oh, this is something different. We had not heard of it. But then somebody pointed out, it sounds like contrary to what Krishnaji has said about struggle. Then it turned out that with good intention, this our friend has taken it from some book. But looking at it closely, it was said by some visitor who was discussing with Krishnamurti, not exactly Krishnamurti himself. It was not at all told by Krishnamurti. But he carried an impression that, because these words appeared in Krishnaji's response to a question by the visitor, he had taken it and then put Krishnaji's name and photo and then published. Then we withdrew that from the group. So these are all the ways in which unintentionally or with good intention things might get distorted. But therefore, the only way for anyone to get a feeling of that is to find it out for himself. If this can happen to Krishnaji's teachings in a time where it was available, it was recorded and it is available to us in digital form, any place, any time, because we don't have enough time or patience or whatever the other reasons to go and search for the original source of that, we tend to carry the impression we get by the quotes we receive. And today with mobile and the social media, we are bombarded with quotes by all the seers, all the business leaders, all the political leaders, and so on, that we just don't have time to actually look into the source of that. We are bombarded with this impression. We seem to act upon those impressions unknowingly. So I was wondering about what is the reason for this, the root cause of this. Is it because we just go by whatever we hear, which resonates with what we already believe, or which resonates with what we already know as knowledge, or it expands to the knowledge? Because either it is something good, it sounds good, or it sounds different, which is helping me expand my knowledge. That is possible. But what happens in the process unknowingly is the influence of that. We get influenced unknowingly and we carry it forward. We forward. Now with the digital media, it has become very easy, and that has become almost instinct that whatever we get impressed with, we just forward. And that's how it starts getting propagated. So there are distortions that are unintended. Some may be well-intended, like we summarize. I see a talk of Krishnaji, a very important point he's making, which is in 4 or 5 sentences. In between, there are pauses and repetitions. Now I want to get a quote out of that, which will fit into some 5 words or 7 words or 10 words. I do it with good intention, but then somebody else will be reading it, forwarding it as it is. Now it becomes a quote. The first couple of them I mentioned about, the being light unto oneself, as well as being well adjusted to profoundly sick society, could have happened like this. Somebody summarized it with good intention, but then that became, a creature in itself with its own life, and it is going around and so on, and creating impressions and so on. The real danger I see now is when it was about taking a lot of effort and care to translate or to summarize, put it in different formats to publish. There was a lot of effort and attention going into that. But today with the digital medium, it is so quick. The entry barrier, the barrier to distort and communicate and influence others' thought has really lowered. Anybody can just edit anything on his mobile and then forward it quickly. And before you know it, it would have reached 1 million people. And it would have created a lot of reactions and so on, which is what is happening today, as you see in all the domains. We'll go into little detail of that in a few minutes now. Now, with the convergence of this technology, the communication technology, the digital technology, and what is called as artificial intelligence, which is further convergence and integration of understanding of mathematics, human psychology, and the physics and chemistry of the neuropsychology, they are able to automate a lot of distortions as required. Who needs it? People who have business interest, people who have political interest. and people who are simply mischievous. And there is this particular technology driven by AI called deep fake. What it means is, this is a fact. This has already happened. It's already demonstrated in social media that there is a great visionary or great leader. If he says something, everybody will listen and everybody will follow. Could be a religious leader or could be a political leader. So far, it has been demonstrated in a lighter vein on politicians whom we love and hate, that you give a lot of video talks of the person and then give as input what you want them to say, which is something totally different from what they intended, something totally distorted. You can make this technology, or this AI technology will take all the other talks and videos of the person, and it can distort with an understanding of the movement of his mouth and the eyes and the head and the muscles and so on. It can actually create a video, a fake video, which is of the original person, but saying something which you wanted him to say. These are called deep fakes. This is a technology now which is easily available, and in very near future, it would be available on your mobiles. Already video editing things are available in mobiles. This is certainly, in my view, a movement towards the communication world becoming utterly darker. Anybody can fake anything. Therefore, and anybody can hack anything also. When more and more information is organized into digital repositories and made available online, this is what is becoming the trend. Even the governments, Prime Minister's office, Governor's office, President's office are now compelled to publish any order from their offices on a real-time digital social media called Twitter. Yesterday, day before yesterday, a governor's order, and a president's order or a prime minister office issues some statement or an order, executive order, it is immediately, first and foremost, published on Twitter. In spite of that, you will see that once it is available digitally, there are people who are downloading that and distorting and communicating through other things. Some of the chaos created by this is what we are seeing in what is currently going on, which started in Karnataka. It has spread like wildfire throughout the country, and then even international communities reacting to that. Which started with a particular religious symbol being preferred by some girl students in a school. Now it has become a big political agenda, and the political propagandists and interested people using religious symbolism to politicize the thing. And we don't know where it is going to reach. It is this easy distortion possible and easy communication possible through digital media, and everybody hooked onto that. Thanks to this pandemic, everybody is homebound, everybody is online. This is actually happening. This is indication of the world becoming utterly dark. What has this symbolism, this conflict have got to do with any school? This is an example of what is happening in the education system. On the other hand, we have seen what happened in the healthcare with this pandemic. There are enough alternative viewpoints which were suppressed, and it became a big, what should I say? Fear psychosis, which drove everything. Fear psychosis, it looked like deliberately driven by business interests and international politics that drove people to really this level of despair. Looking at what may be the root cause of this, is it not because majority remains ignorant of the scientific explorations, incapable of controlling everything they need? Therefore, we created the institutions to organize this knowledge and make it available, make useful products and service out of that, and we gave them authorities. That is the industry, the businesses, the government. We have empowered them, the masses empowered them, the masses trusted them. But then there are agendas, there are business interests, and including the federal agencies who are supposed to be working 24/7 to identify the mischief makers and controlling them. We know that they even keep tab on spiritual and religious individuals and organizations. As we know, even Krishnaji was on a watch list during the World War. He was given a directive not to leave his place. He was actually homebound during the World War, and he was not allowed to speak outside and so on. So this is the way the authority which is created for our benefit, empowered by the public, operates. And with the digital medium, it has become even more concentrated power, and these possibilities of distortion of everything we depend on is a reality. This is at the transactional level what is visible, and we already know that we have actually rather talked about it, not that we know that traditionalizing wisdom is one of the habits, almost a process by which we are living. One, we have the scientific explorations happening, scientific authorities who are summarizing the scientific discoveries and putting it into statistics. For example, like when this corona broke out, the scientific research said the risk is that the fatal risk is for about 0.04% of the population who are above certain age, who have certain comorbidities. But that's a summary statistics. What happens when it is taken for operationalizing the care? We have seen what happened. Once there is a business interest, when there is big money is involved and there is some international politics involved. Similarly, based on the summary statistics of what are the the ways or the extent to which the human brain and body would be developing, we have created this education system. And once it is canonized, it is like at certain age, students have to learn certain things, and at a particular age, they have to be a graduate and postgraduate and get into job and so on, including they have to start working at a certain age and they have to retire at a certain age. So these organizing a system, wisdom into a system, is based on statistical averages. Then what happens to the individual? Hardly any individual, a particular individual, including me and you, would be falling exactly into that statistical average. Therefore, there is always continuously a conflict between what individual life is going through and it needs versus what the system has to offer. And in this conflict, you see all kind of distortions happening. The second one is, therefore, we look at people who are liberated from this life, people who are liberated from this mainstream way of living. We are always, therefore, looking at what has a liberated one said. Can it help me get out of this conflict? What has the insight? What is the insight of a liberated? What exactly did Buddha say? What exactly has Jesus said? What exactly has Krishna said? Or Vedas and Upanishads have said, or Quran has said? We try to tend to look up to what exactly a liberated one has said, assuming that there is truth in that, which we are not able to see because we are not liberated. We are hostage to the system, so-called system which we have created. So this canonizing the insights of seers into quotes, into quotations, organizing them into institutions and practices, and then the propaganda follows. This is in no way different from summary statistics of scientific discoveries, which are used for creating systems based on the averages, with which an individual will always be in conflict. To resolve our conflict, to find some respite out of this conflict of living in this way of organized society, we look at what has a liberated one said, like Buddha or Jesus or Krishna or Vedas or Quran or Krishnamurti. And then we are back into this problem of their insights canonized into quotes, organized into institutions, and then practices, and then there is propaganda. And with the lowered barrier to distort with this digital medium, all kind of distortions happening. Apart from the unintended and well-intended, summarizing, which has created its own distortion. So therefore, it appears that unless we have a way of directly perceiving the truth, we might be impressed by, we might be impacted by what somebody else has said or what the system is saying, but can we have a direct perception? Can I, as an individual who is in conflict with what I have heard or what is being dispensed to me by the system, can I have a direct perception of what I am going through, and therefore what is that is good for me or not good for me, that the system is in what the system is offering, and particularly when it comes to the wisdom of the seers or wisdom of any spiritual kind. If I do not have a direct perception of what exactly is the meaning of what I am told or what I have heard, there is no way in which I can escape being impressed upon and being acted upon by a distorted truth. And that to me is the importance of the light within. What Krishnaji says is, it is that intelligence that comes from a holistic understanding and observation of the reality, that includes the reality of what nature has created, like trees and mountains, and the reality of what human thought has created, which is all the institutions, governance, bureaucracy, and everything else, the system. And also it includes, he says, the reality of the illusion created by our own imagination and so on. So can we live by our own direct perception? May it help in orderly living and dying? That is, my inquiry, and I leave it open to everybody else also to share their exploration. And coming to this, in fact, a couple of weeks ago, our friend Gopalan sir was talking about, the death. A lot of these thoughts also crystallized there. This organized wisdom has created these systems, and it has defined the society, the social bureaucracy, I call it, if we may call it, that there is a social norm which says at this certain age you should be studying, at this certain age you should be getting married, at this age you should be working and retiring, and then finally there are statistical averages for everything. And our life seems to be organized around that, and there are conflicts with this. Right? Now, with this direct perception, what we are calling as, what we can see with in the light within us, can we be living better rather than following what the social norms are dictating? And we know that, again, this traditional thoughts, traditional wisdom organized the right way of living, the right way of moving through phases of your life from birth to death into these 4 ashramas. That is Brahmacharya ashram, Grihasthashram, Vanaprasthashram, Sannyasashram, and then finally there is death. So there are a lot of prescriptions for that. And when I was talking to some schools of yoga who are deep into that, Patanjali's and others, and schools of ancient wisdom, they say, yeah, it is very well understood. The average life of human being in current times is taken as 80 years. So it's neatly divided into 4 phases. First 20 years, you are a student learning. Next 20 years, you get into Grihasthashram and be a householder. And householder is the anchor of the society and so on. And then the third 20 years of your life, you get into Vanaprasthashram. These days, you don't really go to Vana or a forest. You can live in the society, but you start withdrawing from your active role in the society. You start transferring your responsibilities. You start sharing your wisdom, guide the next generation to take over the responsibilities, and you start retiring. And sannyas ashram is complete retirement. You spend all your time in your observing your life, understanding life, and start preparing for death. So this is how it is neatly divided. But when you look at the life of the individual, including ourselves, it never followed this 20 years. We are always in conflict with that. Schooling gets completed, but education doesn't get completed. You all want to have job and get married, but there are no jobs, so it get delayed. It is never like 20 years. And a lot of people supposed to be successful, they will never stop working. It becomes an addiction, keep on earning, keep on creating new businesses and so on. And there are others who just cannot work anymore. They got into some kind of jobs, but because they have responsibilities, you have to somehow struggle to work. The body and mind doesn't want to, but there is a social responsibility which drives that you must be working and earning and so on. So hardly we see anybody following the ideal path of, passing through gracefully the phases of life and so on. So I wonder, can this light within, or our own direct perception of what is my life, which is my body and mind, currently in need of or currently capable of, according to which can I choose organically when and whether I want to get married, when and whether I want to get into a job, or when and whether I will retire, and so on. That seems to be a purpose well served by this light within or our own direct perception. When I was looking into that, again I came across some of this which had made very deep impression, that just now what I shared, that can we be looking into the needs and the desires and the capabilities of our own life, that is body and mind, what seemed to drive our decision to go into certain kind of education or getting out of it at some stage, getting into certain kind of job, getting married to some certain kind of individual, and retiring at certain time, etc., is desire. And that's when these deeply impressed upon quotes came to my mind. One of the quote of Buddha, which were taught to us in my junior school, has remained with very deep impression, which is, desire is the root cause of all miseries, which is very profound. Somehow it has remained with me. It doesn't mean that I never got into following any desires. Obviously, as a very, very ordinary person, we pursued all kind of desire. Got it fulfilled also, and then there are miseries also. Only when there is a misery, this quote of Buddha guides me. That desire is the root cause of your misery, and can you find out what is the desire because of which you got into this misery? So that was the utility of that quote. And then recently we found this got published, I believe, in Markley's latest book on Krishnaji's, the biographical thing about exploring the mystery and so on. That desire is essence of life is something which Krishnaji is communicating, probably in 30s or so. In our own study group also it surfaced again. He says desire is essence of life, or desire is life. If you understand that beauty of that, the complexity of that, and all of that. If it is unexamined, it leads to all kind of distortions, the disorders, the conflicts and miseries, and so on. I'm just paraphrasing. This is not exactly the same words, but paraphrasing. And there is a clue in that. Desire is life, or desire is a sense of life. And then another, anecdotal thing, which was, very profound, when I heard from probably Gopalanji, I think, in his the third book he has published, he has mentioned about it probably, that when Ramakrishna Paramahams was alive still, he had a fetish for sweets, it seems. When his wife Sharada Devi asked him, "You are liberated so much. Why do you have this fetish for sweets?" Apparently, he said, Paramahams said that this is the only desire I have. If I don't have this desire also, I'll die. Meaning that would be end of my life. So these have clue that where we have heard of one seer saying that desire, without this desire, this petty desire, rather, it's a fetish actually. I would die. I have no other desire. Krishnaji is saying desire is the essence of life. And Buddha is saying that desire is the root cause of all miseries. The same thing has been said in different ways in our ancient wisdom, like Chaturveda Purusharthas, and then your Arishad Vargas, where the root cause is the desire, and then there is anger, the possessiveness, and and all of that. So therefore, can this inner light or direct perception of our desire at every moment of life, at every stage of life, can it give us insights whereby I can decide? And looking into that, is it always desire as we normally understand, which is all creation of thought and therefore it is avoidable? Or is it sometime need of the life? Like at the age of 50 itself, I'm tired of doing this technology job. I want to retire, but I have a responsibility. My family it needs to survive. I have a child, I have an old parent, I have to take care of them. Therefore, there is a need, there is an organic need to work, not retire. Maybe with this understanding, my quality of life while I'm working, quality of my earning would be different. But nevertheless, there is a need. It is not a desire created out of the thought. Similarly, the capabilities also. at a given point of time, what is the body and mind capable of, that can actually guide, is it time to retire? And of course, about dying. I believe Gopalanji mentioned that in passing, and then he just gave some pointers to that. Like Krishnaji knew exactly when and where he would be leaving, but he didn't want that to be an issue. He did not want to publicize and so on. And when we hear his last talk in Chennai, the talk ends with these two words. He says, actually, it ends. It ends. So there are a lot of pointers to that. If we believe, as we know in our understanding, he lived through his life for a mission with complete awareness of what he was doing and what he was saying in every context. And he was fully aware when it ended. And he actually ends his last talk with the words, it ends. Now, is this total awareness of a life's mission done? And total awareness of when one is leaving this life, that is dying. Is it possible only for these seers? Or is it possible for everybody? And if you go by what Krishnaji has talked about, what happens to the teachings after his death in his dialogue with Upul Jaikarji, he has very clearly indicated this insight, this truth has nothing to do with Krishnaji. He was only a medium. It is for there, it is everywhere, it is for everyone of us to get it for ourselves. These are very clearly pointers to the nature of that light within, the need for that light within, the need for every one of us to have a direct perception of life as we are going through. And with that, I would like to leave it open to all the friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kudli. I think you have covered so many points and so very well. I have no words to express our thankfulness. Uh, just to say a few things, uh, about we do talk about students and to why should every student be asked to cover the whole syllabus in 8 or 10 months and appear for the exam, because there are people who perhaps need 2 years. There are some who perhaps can finish it off in 4 to 6 months. But when you are affiliated to an examination board, there are certain guidelines, certain rules one has to follow. And Krishnaji, while talking to teachers and students, always emphasized that you must be a critic of the society and its values. And unless you are convinced that they are right, reject them, question them, create your own values. And it's not a violent position, but he wanted people to be taking a stand. And he said, if you are alone, you are related. And about teachings, I remember, in November 1985, his last visit to Rajghat, a Buddhist monk got up and asked him, sir, how do you want the teachings to be protected when you are gone? And what is the role of foundation and its dissemination? And he said, sir, the teachings don't need anybody's protection. And for dissemination, you are responsible, not I or the foundation. If you live the teachings, they will spread. So he was very clear, and I fully agree with you that with the advent of technology, all kinds of trash is going to come on the media and so on. But fortunately, there are official websites of Krishnamurti, and there are tape recordings, there are books, and one can always verify whether what is being put on the net is right or wrong or it's concocted and all that. But thank you once again for covering so many things and so beautifully. Thanks a lot. Dr. Harshad Parekh wants to make a comment. Yes, sir. Unmute yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Are you able to hear?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rajaram and Dubey ji. You spoke very well. I listened very well also. I like to say that to see anything, light is necessary. Like if you want to see a tree, then what happens that the light falls on the tree, it gets reflected and we have our eyes open, we are able to see the tree. So light is necessary to see objects. Similarly, if we want to see our thoughts and feelings very, very clearly, a different kind of light, what we can call awareness, is necessary, which can really see. And this is what actually the spiritual life, religious life, is to have a clarity in our mind so that we can see how our mind works, how it creates problems in relationship. And that is what the teachings of Krishnamurti was about, awakening that awareness which can see everything what is happening within us and around us. And there are also some songs which I like. In that also it says, there is one song, जिसने मन का दीप जलाया दुनिया को उसने ही उजला पाया, जागो मोहन प्यारे. So in that it says that people in whom this light is awakened, they see the whole world very bright and beautiful. And another song which says, Jab ujiyara man mein chhaye, jag ujiyara hoy, tora man darpan kehlaye. So in that song also it says, when there is a light in the mind, the whole world appears very bright. And one bhajan which we sing in the assembly in Valley School or Rishi Valley, Sayadri, in that it says, Man mandir ki jyot jagado, kat kat vasi re, darshan do ghanshyamnath. So in that also it says that our mind is like a temple, and the light is that awareness. When it is awakened, when the lamp is ignited, the world looks very beautiful. And this is probably, apart from reading Krishnamurti and thinking about it, discussing about it, quoting Krishnamurti, more important is to look at our own mind and see how our life is unfolding. And that itself is can tell us whether we are really understanding what Krishnamurti or the great teachers have said, or we are just interested in our verbal dialogues. So the real truth is not in words, not in the dialogues, not in quotations. It is to be found by our own meditation, by being alone, observing nature, observing our own mind. And how we observe is also very, very important. Like Krishna ji sometimes says, freedom is at the beginning. How do you do anything? How do you look at a tree, or how do you look at your own mind? It's very, very important. So I have finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any other question? Yes, Mr. Rama Rao. Yes, Mr. Rama Rao, please. Unmute yourself. Unmute.
Sir?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Sir, that question is that, you see, I could not follow the question in the dialogue. I need some light on that. One is that the Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says that with that desire only I am living. That is one point. And another point that the Buddha says that desire is misery. This I feel bit confused. They please ask the speaker to explore a bit on that.
Dr. Kudli.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one, what Ramkrishna Paramhans had said, I had heard from somebody, I think it was from Gopalan, but it is very likely that, when we look into our own life also, the experience of life is in the desire. And when there is no desire apart from pain, when there is no desire, I don't know whether I am alive or not. So in that sense, it is likely, I don't know, like for all the reasons I mentioned, we have never heard what exactly Ramkrishna Paramhans said. Somebody has, heard it and somebody wrote it and it is communicated. And then if I can look into that directly and find out the truth of that for myself, when I try to do that, it sounds true. That's it. My life is basically desires. And which Krishnaji has said that, the desire is life. Desire is the essence of life. If it is unexamined, if it is not understood, it could be creating miseries and a whole lot of that. Similarly, this quote of Buddha is what I remember from my, it was part of our textbook actually. The history text, there is a section on Buddha and this is his famous quotation. And that's it. I have no way of verifying whether Buddha has actually said it. In our traditional wisdom, there is this Arishad Vargas, right? Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mada, Matsarya. We don't know who has said that, but we have taken it for granted. It makes sense to us. But unless you explore it and find it out for yourself, we don't know what is the truth of that. So one such commentary or the explanation of that I heard from a Ramakrishna mission seer is that I used to take it for granted. There are these 6, vices: Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mada, Matsarya. He explained neatly that Kam is the root cause, that is the desire. When the desire is fulfilled, not fulfilled, then there is Krodh, the anger. When it is fulfilled, there is an attachment. When what you desire, you don't get it, but somebody else get it, there is jealousy, so on. So desire is, in this way, desire, or the first one, the Kam, that is the root cause of all other vices, is how he explained, which made sense. I had not thought about it that way. So the point is basically, we hear these quotes, it make very deep impression depending upon at what stage of your life and in what mindset you heard that, in what context you heard that, and that impression would be actually driving our actions and what we do with our life unconsciously. So can we actually look into that and then find out the truth of the statement ourselves? That is the point.
Thank you.
May I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Please.
Yeah. Krishnaji once said that his body existed only to talk. And if he stopped talking, the body will go. So you can say that a kind of a mission, a desire, not for his own, but to awaken as many people as he could, a kind of a passion. So that was keeping him alive, the desire, and he wanted to still, even after he got this disease, he still, I feel, he wanted to give talk. I think he had the desire to live at least up to 100 years. So that is what I have to say. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Parekh. I think Dinesh ji wants to say something. Yes, Mr. Dinesh Waghmare.
Yeah. Are you able to listen to me, sir?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Whatever Kudli sir has said, I also agree that today there is a different kind of darkness. There is all the knowledge is available on Google. So all the new generation, they are having so much, they are flooded with the knowledge. And they had been told that what is to be thought. But they have not been told how to think or how to get the wisdom and how to use that knowledge. So we also see, I am coming from a background of engineering field. We are seeing that whatever the new people, new boys are coming, they have got a lot of theoretical knowledge. They have got access to Google, but they have got very less practical knowledge, or they don't know that knowledge can be taken by two ways. One is a theoretical way by reading the books, and another is directly going and see the things themselves and get the experience. So they don't want to, they have not been taught in that way. Go practically and see and remain with the things, remain with the machines and understand the actuality of the working of the machine. This is one point. So they don't know how to get the wisdom. Another thing, whatever, as the Krishnamurti said, that to live without relationship is the absurd thing. And to live in relationship, one should understand that how he is related to it. So what is his role? And the same thing Gita also says, that one has to understand that what is his role in life. What are his inherent traits, and then accordingly he has to develop those, and he has to understand what he has to do in the life. So that thing is missing in today's education. They have not been told. They have just, there are, as Kudli sir said, there is a lot of marketing, there is a lot of vested interest of people, and they are flooding with the information, and now AI coming into picture. The information is used in a wrong way, or in a with wishful intentions and all that. But this, how he is related, a new person is related to it, or a new who has taken just entry into the business world or this thing, how he has to get the wisdom, and what he should do and what he should not do, that is not clear to him. So this, what Krishnamurti says, how you are related to it, this has to be seen. Also JK said that one has to go for the self-knowing, knowledge, and then he has to understand what is how he is related to it. So that is I think missing in this. And Krishnamurti also said that one has to tackle the individuality. He has to understand, and he has to tackle his individuality. So how to understand what is his individuality? Nobody is teaching the new person to that thing. So I think these are the points which are to be taken into consideration. If the new boy knows how to use the knowledge and what is the right thing, and how to perceive the truth in it, what is there for him, then I think things will be different. This is what I have to say. Thank you. What Kudlichar has to say.
Nothing much to add to what you have said. Again, resorting to Krishnamurti, particularly talking about this light within, he says clearly, it has to come from a holistic perception of reality. That reality includes the reality created by illusions, reality created by human thought, apart from the reality created by the nature as it is, which cannot be distorted. So he says that is what is intelligence. And the truth operates on reality through that intelligence. Now, how do you bring about this in a child, which is just dependent on the adults, the parents and the teachers? And that was the intent of Krishnamurti schools. Again, how much has it been effective, etc., is left to speculation. It is, in my view, it is very, very individualistic, very, very personal. So each person has to, sooner or later, sooner the better, discovers it for himself, that he has to find it out for himself. Nobody else can help. What is the right thing to do for himself? A person has to find it out for himself.
Thank you, Dr. Kudli. Mr. Pradeep Verma. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Regarding this topic, importance of light, certain thoughts came to me. And first is that light gives clarity to the seer, is it? As Harshad ji also said. but the quality of light matters a lot. Then light here probably is used as a metaphor. And to me, metaphor like images is not a reality, but approximation. Energy may be a more convincing but elusive word. Energy is experiential. Light is light, even though energy is visible. Then the statement, no one can give this light to you because each is conditioned uniquely. This light is important to see myself through my relationships and the world. Then certain questions came to me. What is the nature of this light? Question number one, what is the nature of this light? Question number two, whether light has any role in conditioning also, or rather role of light and desires also. Whether desires and all those things which take you to different destructions, whether any role is there, whether light has a role in that. So these two questions came to me. Although initially when Buddha used this word, he discussed with me, Sushilji, that it is not deep, it is dweep, island to yourself, something like that. But anyway, these questions are there. What is the nature of this light, and whether light has any role in conditioning, and like desires, ambitions that create a momentum in the psyche. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Harshad sir, would you like to?
Yeah, yes. May I? Yes.
Yes,
Please.
When we become curious, generally our mind is curious about the things outside, like science, gathering knowledge, understanding how it works, machines and universe and galaxies and stars. We are curious about that. But when we become curious about our own mind, like when anger comes, then we ask the question, what is this anger? What is behind it? I want to go right to the source from where it comes. And then when we have such curiosity, then what Krishnamurti says, it becomes very, very interesting. And then we can say, yes, what Krishnamurti says is correct. And that we can find out by looking within ourselves. And for that, it requires curiosity. It requires ability to be alone, sit quietly initially, at least, and then direct the attention inward instead of going outside, and then just looking, not trying to do anything about, not trying to stop our thinking, not indulging it, not suppressing it, and then we can really come in direct touch with ourselves, and then we know how we are creating problems in our life while in relationship, and then we can begin to see the beginning of a problem in that light of awareness. And when we see it like a anger coming, and we see the anger is coming, the anger stops. And that is why Krishnaji says that perception is the action. So what we need is an ongoing awareness of what is happening within us, naturally, effortlessly, because if we have to put effort, it doesn't work, and these feelings can come suddenly. And if we are not aware, then it will complicate and we will get angry and we worry, and many problems are created by thinking about it instead of looking non-verbally. So that is why this looking non-verbally, that is what this choiceless awareness is. And when that is awakened, then we don't need to do anything. That awareness tells everything. There is no need to read anything, no need to think, but only to see. And in that seeing, the life is unfolding. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Harshad bhai. Thank you.
May I
yes.
say something, sir?
Yes, please.
Because choiceless awareness itself is conditional in the sense that unless if a person doesn't have any choices, then he's a likely candidate for choiceless awareness, right? Which usually is not there around. So what I was trying to say is choice awareness. I just missed that point somewhere.
Okay, you think about it, we'll come back to you.
I'll just pick up somewhere.
Yeah.
Let others take up.
Okay. So, Mr. Prasad Mulupuri, yes, sir.
Sir, I mean, when Krishnaji said during his last days that nobody has understood him, I don't think there is any reason to place any interpretation on that. Possibly, he really felt that nobody has really understood him, even though they were very close to him. Neither the people who were close to him, nor the ones outside the inner circle, nobody has really understood him. That is the feeling which any impartial observer gets also. Because he said the root of the evil is the self. And any one of us, can we really claim that we are free of that self? I don't think so. Honestly, we cannot claim that. And to that extent, nobody has really understood him or his teaching. And of course, today technology has come, and I, for one, am totally ignorant of technology. So I don't really know what are the distortions so that technology can, can do so far as the teaching is concerned. And the other statement, there is no merit in adjusting to a corrupt society. I mean, I think I feel like taking it at its face value. Society is corrupt. With all our, we don't have to give instances of that. We are corrupt as a society. And our education is mainly, it trains a boy to adjust to that society so that he can get a job and all. So there is no particular merit in adjusting to the society as it is constituted today. So that statement also, we need not place interpretations on that statement. We can accept it. So far as I am concerned, I feel like accepting it just like that. Then the other statement, desire is a life. Yes, Krishnaji has never believed in suppressing your senses. He never said, don't look at a woman or don't look at anything else. So give full operation to your senses. Desire is life. If you are totally devoid of desire, then you are dead. His approach is understand desire, how it arises, and can you stop with desire without allowing thought to bring in some more images about you be driving the car or things like that, or owning the house, things like that. So life, so desire is life, is it, I mean, it is in consonance with his teaching, so far as I can see that. And then this light within, be a lamp to yourself, be a light to yourself. This is what Buddha said. But Krishnaji somehow, he never brought in others' teachings into his teaching. He said, when somebody said, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa has said like this, he said, who is that bird? Who is that bird? You know, there can't be any better way of, more precise way of brushing aside anybody else. When somebody referred to, I mean, the seer of the South, Ramana Maharshi, he said, a jasmine is a jasmine, a rose is a rose. And the entire, his life, it was his mission to give truth to us, to destroy illusions. And that is what he achieved. And that is, and when we see his mission and the way he dedicated himself to the achievement of that mission, we can see that nobody has come anywhere near him. And to that extent, nobody has understood him. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mulupuri. I think you have very rightly said. In fact, in the book, The Perfume of the Teachings, where he talks to the trustees of the different foundations, he mentions it very clearly that nobody has understood what I have been talking about. So we shouldn't doubt that statement. And in that, there is a suggestion by some of the trustees that why didn't you bring in new people so that you start afresh and maybe they can understand. And he said, no, sir, I'm too old to start that. And what is the guarantee that they will understand the teaching? So I don't mean that I want to put you aside and so on. Yes, Dr. Parekh.
Yeah. Krishnamurti always said that there is no authority in this field of psychology, spirituality, religion, philosophy. And he always said, do not accept what I am saying or do not reject, but find out for yourself. So what I feel that what understanding Krishnamurti means, understanding our own self. And if somebody has really understood his own self out of thousands of people who listen to Krishnamurti, Krishnamurti would not know whether somebody has really understood himself or not. And so we need not accept, at least I don't accept. I have to find out for myself. And I question everything. So in that, there is no authority. And that is what stops us in understanding ourselves clearly. That was one question was asked by Ravi. And what stops is that we don't have that natural curiosity to look inward, because our mind is always, we are conditioned by our education to learn about the things which are outside. But our education doesn't say, when a boy says, I am bored, at that time the question arises, what is boredom? Or when there's a jealousy, what is this jealousy? I want to go right to the root. So that kind of passion is required, and to understand ourselves as we are. And that makes life much easier and more enjoyable when we begin to come in direct touch and not keep on reading Krishnamurti and thinking and discussing about it. Okay, I have finished.
Thank you, Harshadji.
The point I missed
Yes,
has
please
come
go
back
ahead.
to me.
Yes, please.
So
Go ahead.
please allow me, because
Yes, please go ahead.
most of the topics that we take that lead to discussion is basically because they are dualistic, all of them. Now, suppose we take today's topic, inside. When we say inside, automatically the outside also comes with it, right? And this is a fragmentation of the whole in a way. So our discussions right in the beginning are dualistic, and we go on discussing it. And ultimately we talk of holistic vision and holistic, what we call holistic vision. But we start breaking the whole, discussing it, and then getting tired ultimately. So Krishnamurti said somewhere, I vividly remember, that there is no inside outside. Where does it start? So these things need to be thought about. This is all we have, mind. The clarity is required in these things, the nature of light and what is inside and outside, and who thinks it. It starts with the person who says it is inside, listens to something as inside and outside, and he also, when somebody tells me inside, where do I look for? So these are basic questions that keep coming to me. They can be rejected as intellect or whatever it is, but this is all what happens to me every time I listen to these topics and discuss about it. But these questions remain where they were, because it is not understanding Krishnamurti's teaching, it is understanding myself. And I understand myself this way only. I am trying to understand myself, listening to him. If these questions automatically came to me, I will request Kudliji to say something about what all I have raised today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So absolutely, I am with you when you say it's all about understanding myself. So that is the reason, that is one thing, whether we understand anything Krishnaji has said or not, this he made very clear. You are to understand yourself. Nobody else can give you, including the speaker, including himself, which has made very clear. Therefore, even when he was preparing to leave, whatever he might have said, put on record, in tape recorder, in signed document, it is totally irrelevant. I chose that as an example of how some things were quoted out of context by well-intentional people who were close to him, who were witness, and then somehow it has gone around with a different impression. So these impressions we carry by what he might have said, is actually distorting our explorations. One. Two, it even distorts our relationship with people who are living today, with the foundation and with the, these study groups and so on. So what is the point, or what is the importance of believing that nobody understood? We don't know what he exactly meant in what context and so on. What I can see is, hearing to this statement, I don't know, I was not witness to that. In any case, it is told to me and I have heard this or I have read it. Has it created any distortion? Has it created any disorder in my relationship with people and in my explorations of myself? That's the only thing that matters. And that disorder or distortion is what I can see. Because that disorder has happened in me. I don't know whether actually something happened out there with him. So the only thing that matters is understanding oneself, and for which he says very clearly there is no authority, absolutely no spiritual authority. That's how I came to see that the spiritual authority is an oxymoron. It's self-contradictory.
Yes.
The spiritual and authority. So
Yeah.
I hope that.
May I?
Yeah. Thank
Yes,
you.
please.
Thank you.
May I say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah. When you look at a tree, the tree is the object and your mind is the subject. So there is in outside, there is this duality between subject and object. But when you want to understand yourself, like what is this anger? Can I see the beginning of an anger? The object is the anger and the subject is you, and the object and subject are same. So that is why this observer and the observed are one in looking inward. But it is not so in looking outside. There is a subject-object duality exists. That is why the science is about object-subject duality, but psychology and spirituality, in that there is no such division. And to really understand it, to see it, it itself requires an insight that the observer and the observed, that this my anger and me who wants to be free from anger, they are not separate. And with that understanding comes this insight, and then life really becomes very, very interesting to look. And then looking inward will not be tiring. It would be giving you a lot of energy, insight by looking inward. And that is what Krishnaji was trying to do, is to awaken that awareness which can see thoughts and feelings very, very clearly how they are unfolding. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Harshad bhai. I think we'll take the last question, Harshad, Mr. Dinesh Waghmare. Yes, please. Unmute yourself.
Are you able to listen to me?
Yes.
Sir, my question is to Harshad sir. When I look at a tree, I'm not looking at a tree. I'm looking at my image only, because I'm getting the image, and if you see the tree, actually you are seeing the image in your brain and you are experiencing it. Similarly, when you are having any anger or this thing, at that time also you are experiencing in yourself the energy of that anger. So in that way they are similar. So how we can say that one is object and another is subject, and in this case there is a
Yeah.
duality, and in the case of anger there is no duality?
Yeah, but you can touch the tree. You can go close to, and that means there is something which exists there.
But that is also data coming
touch.
from your senses. In case of anger also you are experiencing in yourself. So actually data
But
what you
it
are
can't
getting
be.
at that level,
No.
both
I
are the
think,
same.
Dinesh, you are forgetting. He's talking of the physical thing and psychological.
Physical, yeah.
thing. Yes.
Right.
But when I am seeing a tree, it is away from me, no? So
Yeah, but
again,
you can
I'm
touch,
seeing the image
but you
in
can touch
spider.
the tree. There is a
You
physical
can touch.
existence
Yeah.
of the tree.
Yeah.
So I think we have come to the end of the talk now, and
Before
I want
ending,
to.
please declare the lecture and the time, because the time is changing.
Yeah, I'll do that. Let me thank Mr.
Yeah.
Kudli first. Yes. So first
Yeah.
of all, I want to thank Dr. Kudli for sparing his time and being with us today and giving a very thought-provoking talk. Next Sunday, we have Mr. Ulrich Brugger. He is in charge of the Ojai retreat in Ojai, California. So he'll be speaking to us. That will be at 10 a.m. to accommodate his time in Ojai, California. So next Sunday at 10 a.m., you're all welcome to join us again on the same Zoom link. So please do come. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shankar, we will be taking you on the next time.